A section break lets you control formatting as your needs change. Let's say, for example, you wish to put in some columns in a section or change some footnotes or endnotes, change headers, footers, changing some margins in certain sections of your report or document. If you want to change page numbering or change the orientation of your page from portrait to landscape in one particular page. These things can only be done if we put a section break in. Now, a section break, it allows you to be able to do something independent of the other sections that are involved in it. In Word, we've got four section breaks, and just quickly before we get started on our activity, I'd like to go through these. The first break is our next page break, and what that does is it inserts a break and it starts or forces a new section of the onto the next page. Now, it's a little bit different from a page break in as much as a page break doesn't change or make anything independent of each other, but a section break means that you are separating the first part of a document from the second part and being able to then do what you want to do with either of those two sections. The second one is your continuous page one. Now with that one, it inserts a section break, but this one here, instead of doing it onto a new page, you can actually take some of your information from within a page and you can do something different with that. If you isolate it off by sectioning it, you can do something different with the formatting on that. The next one is an even page break. Now this one is sometimes used when you're writing a two-paged or face-to-face book style document where you can finish where you are and then it will start on the next even page. So you'll end up, if you're on an odd page or an even page when you start, you will actually leave a blank page in between. And the odd page one, of course, is similar to that, only it will force it to go to the next odd page one. All right. Now we've got that information there, I would like you to make sure that you open up your Task 32 Working with Section Breaks document, and we're going to have a look at the different types of section breaks that we've got. Now the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a page section break. Now with the page section break, I want to go through my document here and I'm going to put this particular graph with its heading on a landscape one so I can make my chart a little bit bigger. Now at the moment it's all on portrait, but if I go down here and I click at the beginning of my page here, I can then go up to my layout option and there's a breaks command here, and in my breaks command it's a drop down and we go down to our section breaks and you can see the four types of section breaks that I was just discussing. Now the first one we're going to put in is a next page break, so I click on that one and it pushes me from where I was up to down to my second page break. Now I've got my show hide on. If you haven't got yours on, make sure you go up to your home tab and just select the show hide on, and when you scroll here you'll be able to see that it's telling you that it's put in a section break at the end of this page here, and we're now onto a new section here. Now there's a couple of ways that we can see how our sections are. One of the ways is if you go down to the bottom of your taskbar down here, if you right click on it, you get an option here of things that you can select. The ones that are ticked have been already select. I want you to go up here to the section one. You can see it hasn't been selected at this stage, but we're going to select it. Now what that does is, when you do that, is if you go down now to the far bottom left hand corner of your page, you'll now see it says section 2 down there. If you click there, just go back up and click in the one before and you'll see that it says section 1. Handy little tool just to be able to see what you're doing when you're working with sections. Another way that you can do it, but this gets a little bit more confusing if you've got continuous breaks, but if you double click at the top of your page, a couple of times sometimes you have to get into the header of your document, this greys out and this becomes prominent here, you'll see that it says section 2 here. If you scroll up, the top page there says section 1. That's also a handy way to do that. Now to get out of that, if you double click back onto the main page, sometimes you just have to do it a couple of times to get back into it, and they will disappear. Okay, so I now want to put this page here as landscape. So at the moment it is definitely portrait. So I'm clicked here inside my new section, and I'm going to go up to my layout page and over here to my orientation. Now when I click on my orientation, it gives me two options, portrait or landscape. And portrait is holding the page up as you would a photo, and landscape is holding it long ways. So I'm going to make that one landscape. And if you notice, the page up the top is portrait and this page is landscape, which is really good, and I can make my chart a lot bigger. I'm actually going to make my chart very big and take up the whole page here. So now I've got a nice page, a nice large viewing of my graph here. But I go down here and I find that my page has now changed. This last page here I don't want to be in landscape. I actually want this one to be back on to my portrait size. So what I can do is I'm going to go down to the bottom of this page here and I'm going to put another section break in here, page 1. So I go layout, breaks, and go down to my next page section break. Okay, now I make sure that I'm in this page here. I'm just going to get rid of that one there by backspacing. I'm now in this section here. If you have a look down the bottom, here it says section 3. What I would like to do now is change that orientation. So I go back up here, make sure I'm in the layout one, select that and go back up to portrait. So now, using the section headings, I have been able to make this back into portrait. This chart one here is landscape, and the rest above it is all in portrait as well. So that's a really good handy tool to have, particularly when you want to change how a section looks. Alright, so that's our page section break. I'm going to now look at the second one, and the second one on here was our continuous one. Now our continuous one here allows us to take a section within a page. So the page break took us to the next page, but this one's going to take a section within a page. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select these paragraphs here, so a new paragraph, and I'm going to do 4 paragraphs below that, and I'm going to set that into columns. So with that one selected, I'm going to, or actually at the beginning of that one I want to, that's how much I want to actually change into columns. Now to do that I have to set a continuous one. So I click at the beginning of that paragraph, I go up to my breaks and click on my continuous. You'll notice up the top here is a continuous section break, and then I'm going to go down to the one, so what I said, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to click to the end of that one there, and I'm going to put in another continuous break. Okay, so what that has now done is it's sectioned off this particular area here, and now what I can do is something different with that without affecting any the one before or the one after it. So I'm going to put this here into columns. So in my layout tab over here I have a columns one. Now I can put in 1, 2, 3, or I can put my columns to the left or right. I'm going to select the 2 column ones. Now as you can see, nothing happened, and the reason nothing happened there was because I was not clicked inside that section, and it's actually sectioned off that one there. So I'm just going to undo that. A really good thing, you must be inside your section that you want to break here. So we just go back to that, select that and click here. So now you can see I've got normal here, I've got columns in that paragraph, and it goes normal there. Now, the thing with one of the main misunderstandings with sections is that a section actually controls what precedes it, above it. So, for example, this is section 1 here, and section 1 is preceded by whatever is this bar here, this section bar here, will control the formatting of what is above it. Anything from this one here will be controlling everything above it. Okay, now if I take this one here off, if I delete this section break here, it will be what is above it will automatically be controlled by my section break here. So it's not the other way round. So when I break that, this will all be columns above here. So let's have a look at that. Now sometimes it's a bit hard to delete a section break if it's at the end. I generally just put it on enter and put it on the next one. I can then select it and delete it. And you'll notice that everything from this one here now is controlled by the section break below it here. Okay, now I'm just wanting you to undo that so that we've got our section break back in there and controlling it as such. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is just have a look very quickly at a left break. Now, I'm going to go down. Okay, I'm going to click at the bottom of this one here, this page here, and this is page 2 of 5. So what I'm going to do here is put a section break in here, and I want it to go to my next even page. So my page 2 will actually be the end of my first section. Going into page 3 will be empty, you won't see it. It'll be printed out as a blank page, and then I'll go to page 4. So I'm going to click on that, and what happens here now is my section break is here, and you can see if I click in here it's section 3. If I click in here it's now section 4. Okay, and if my page numbering is right, this was page 2, and you'll notice there's no page 3, it's actually not there. It then goes straight on to page 4 here, but when it's printed out you will get a blank page there. Okay, and that's the same with the even one. So as you can see, section headings, even though they can be a little bit tricky, they really are handy to be able to do different things with different sections.